All right, let's move on to the fifth and final question. This one's on teens and CommuniCamp, which we just came out of. So this is a good question. Our daughter is 12, recently attended CommuniCamp and made great progress. She was verbal. We were shocked and thrilled. During the ice cream truck exposure, though, she was fearful to go up for a popsicle when we were with her. Dr. Reed mentioned the term parent expectations is a possible reason why she regressed in that specific situation. Could you please elaborate on parental expectations and give us some strategies to work around it?
Great question. And of course, I'm thrilled of how well she did at CommuniCamp, and I'm sure you learned a ton too. And one of the things we talked about at CommuniCamp was parental expectations, but we also talked about how to bring your child into social communication opportunities. One of the examples we talked about was the selective mutism triangle. But in terms of parental expectations, your child has a conditioned way of interacting with you. You've had a conditioned way of interacting with your child. Sometimes that's there all the time. So even though she's made progress, now it's going back with you out and about and it's there. So what we need to do is help you change your ways using the social communication triangle where in the past perhaps you went up to that ice cream truck. One, we now know to prepare. We might script it out. We might approach that ice cream man and rather than say give your order without preparing, without a script perhaps, and just give the order, that it may not work because she may not, one, be ready yet with a complete stranger, or two, you do it for her, which you did in the past. So in the past, you went, she'll have the chocolate candy ice cream. And so now all of a sudden she went to camp, she became verbal, and we're expecting her to just go up to a complete stranger. No. What needs to be done is how do you help prepare that social situation so you can be successful? In the past, it could have been either that you gave the order or you told her to go up and give the order without preparing for that social communication opportunity. Now you're going to do that. You're going to prepare. What do you want in advance? You're going to go up. And if your child isn't able to say, I'll have the chocolate candy popsicle, maybe she just needs to write it and read it. And she can say, hi, I'll have the chocolate candy popsicle. Maybe she can do that now. Maybe she learned that skill and she's ready for that. But maybe she's just not there yet. She has to build that up. So maybe now what you do is you bring her in through choice. Did you want the vanilla or the chocolate candy? Just something as simple as that may change the effectiveness of that. So, in addition to parent expectation, you have to change your ways. And that's a big part of why we do all day parent education for 16 hours at camp, because we have to teach you how to do these things. So, based on your child and your child's needs and where they're at on the bridge, and of course, taking into consideration some of the whys of SM, if that's an issue, like putting your thoughts together to say it, maybe something she's challenged with, maybe it's timidity, whatever the reasons are, we have to help you change your ways, which you learned a lot. But in addition, it's how she sees herself with you. So and I see this a lot with teens, they tend to make more progress with individuals that aren't their parents right away because of the conditioned behaviors they have with their parents. So, one, with you changing your ways will help. Having open dialogue with your child, really talking about it, what you learned, and how some of the skills that you learned can be used in this situation, and kind of just again talk about it. Working with a therapist continuously. But there's something called fear of positive evaluation. If you were a parent, most likely before CommuniCamp, because one of the things we talk about at CommuniCamp and just in treatment in general is that expectation for speech and talking about, yes, obviously crossing the bridge into speech is our ultimate goal, but we have to understand that not all children are there yet. And we have to talk about where they're at on the bridge and help them understand that as they navigate. And I think just that conversation alone is going to minimize your child's expectation because maybe the approach in the past was talk, talk, you got to talk, let's talk. If you talk, you need to talk, you should talk, you got to talk. And if that was the case and your child wasn't there yet, what you're doing is you're causing an increase in expectation and you're causing an avoidance and more anxiety. So as you work through that and you change your ways of talking to her, all of a sudden her anxiety will go down. When she realizes that you do understand and she realizes she understands, all of a sudden that expectation goes down. But I will tell you that a lot of kids, especially teens, if they were in a situation where they felt that expectation, they do tend to make progress even more with others. There's something called fear of positive evaluation. If I do this now, what will you expect of me next? And that's a term that I learned a while ago. And it really like was an aha moment for me when I learned that term because children want to please, but they also feel your expectation and pressure. So if your child is does make progress and you're the kind of parent that goes, oh my God, you made all this progress. Now you can do X, Y, and Z. Your child feels, well, if I do this now, what will you expect of me next? And that can cause anxiety, avoidance, and fear because they're almost afraid to make progress because they fear that you're going to be like, okay, you talk great. Now you can call Aunt Sally and we can go out here and we can do that. Now you can do all these things. And we know with individuals with selective mutism, it changes from setting to setting and person to person. So I hope that gives a little bit of an explanation of the parental expectations and how changing your ways, talking openly, having a dialogue, discussing the bridge, and also, when she is making the progress rather than, oh, you talk, look, you talk, now you can do it again, lowering that sense of expectation. Just matter of factly, she crossed the bridge and, great job for trying and moving on and not feeding it too much, but just acknowledging that's where she is. Because some of the kids, they're very sensitive to praise. And I think that plays a role as well. I know there's a lot there. And with each of these Ask the Docs, I feel like I can do an entire, honestly, hour-long podcast on every question. And it's hard to go on and on about the question because I don't know some of the aspects to what might be going on in that particular family dynamic.